Hey there, welcome back to Pepper Geek Eats. Today I'm gonna make pickled jalapeños that will be ready to eat in less than an hour. We make these every single year because we always have an abundance of peppers in the garden at the end of the summer. And I actually made this recipe a couple of days ago with fresh jalapeños from the garden. So these have been sitting in the fridge, and at the end of the video, Calvin and I are going to try them against store-bought pickled jalapeno peppers to see which tastes better. This recipe is super easy, and you can use pickled peppers to add flavor and spice to so many different dishes in the kitchen. Or if you're like us, you can just snack on them right from the jar. I'm gonna make 1 quart worth of pickled jalapeños, but you could easily double or triple this recipe if you have more peppers on hand. You'll need 1 pound of jalapeno peppers, which is about 10 to 12 large green firm jalapeno peppers. You want to stay away from using red jalapenos because they tend to get a little bit mushy and they don't stay as crisp if you use them in pickles. I also like to use crushed garlic cloves for extra flavor, and I typically use about 3 or 4. For the brine, I'm going to use a 2-to-1 ratio of vinegar to water, so that's 2 cups of white distilled vinegar with a 5% acidity and 1 cup of filtered water. 1 tablespoon of pickling salt. You can also use kosher or sea salt. Just be sure there's no anti-caking agents in the ingredients. And 1 tablespoon of white granulated sugar. We do get a lot of pushback when we use sugar in recipes. It is optional, but we really like the way that it affects the flavor of these pickles. It works really well to complement the tangy brine. Next, I'm going to get into the spice blend, and I really encourage you to experiment with these spices as you get more comfortable with pickling because there's so many different flavor combinations you can try. For this recipe, I'm using half a teaspoon of black peppercorns, half a teaspoon of coriander seeds, and half a teaspoon of dried oregano. And I'm also adding 1 bay leaf, mostly for the flavor, but they also contain tannins, which may help keep the pickles crisp. It is worth noting that this is a quick pickled jalapeno recipe, so I'll be storing these in the refrigerator where they'll stay good for about 2 months. You can absolutely water bath these pickled peppers for long-term storage, but you'll want to follow the USDA canning guidelines as the processing time will vary depending on your altitude. And if you do want to water bath these for longer storage, definitely use some pickle crisp or a grape leaf to help keep them nice and crunchy. So the first step is slicing your jalapeno peppers into even rings about 1/4 inch thick. And you definitely want to be wearing gloves for this process so you don't transfer the pepper oils to any sensitive parts of your body, like your eyes. So I have my sliced jalapenos here, and these are fresh picked from the garden this morning. They look great, they smell great, and they're definitely spicy. Then you'll want to add all of the spices, including the garlic and bay leaf, to the bottom of a quart-sized jar. And you certainly could add the spices to the brine, but we like adding them to the jar first to ensure that all the flavors get in there because sometimes you don't use every last drop of brine. Then you're going to pack the sliced peppers into the jar, leaving about 1/2 inch of headspace at the top. And the peppers will shrink up a little bit as the hot brine hits them, so don't be afraid to pack them in really tight. So that's pretty good. I do have some extra sliced jalapeno peppers here, so I'll experiment with those later. Next, you're gonna make the brine, and this is really where the magic happens. So you're gonna combine the vinegar, the water, the salt, and the sugar in a medium pot. When you're making pickles, you'll want to use a non-reactive pan like stainless steel, enameled cast iron, or ceramic. Then you're going to bring the mixture to a boil, stirring occasionally to make sure everything dissolves properly. This is basically the moment where you're creating liquid preservation. Before refrigeration existed, this exact process helped keep people fed through long, cold winters and sea voyages. Queen Cleopatra credited pickles with contributing to her legendary health and beauty, possibly making her the first celebrity endorser of pickled foods. Once the brine starts to boil, remove it from the heat immediately and carefully pour it over your packed jalapenos. Here we go! You should hear a very satisfying sizzle as the hot liquid hits the jalapeno peppers. The hot brine penetrates the tissues of the peppers and starts the pickling process immediately, helping to keep the jalapenos nice and crisp instead of turning them into a spicy mush. Cover your jar and let them cool at room temperature for about an hour. Ow. And this is probably the most difficult part of the whole process because the smell in here is absolutely incredible and I want to dive into these immediately, but trust me, the wait is worth it. Once the jar has cooled, you can pop them in the fridge where they're technically ready to eat immediately, but they do get a whole lot better after a few days as the flavors penetrate into the peppers. So if you're not in love with the flavor right away, which I'm sure you will be, try letting them sit in the fridge for a couple days. When you're done eating all of the pickled peppers, the leftover brine is liquid gold. You can use it in salad dressings, as marinades, or even as a secret ingredient in Bloody Marys or deviled eggs. I'm gonna let these sit in the fridge for a couple of days, but I did make a batch the other day and we're gonna taste the homemade batch against the store-bought pickled jalapeno peppers. Should we get some milk or do you think?
No.
All right.
Yep.
All right, let's see how the homemade version stacks up against the store-bought.
Check's garden.
So looking at the ingredients on these, they're pretty simple. Jalapeno peppers, water, vinegar, salt, calcium chloride, and turmeric. So really none of the spices that I added to the homemade version, but let's see.
Let's try the store-bought ones first.
All right.
Little guy. Pretty mushy. Mm-hmm. Not very good.
I think they're good. Mm. I think they're really, really tangy. Decent flavor. It's nothing out of this world, but I think
it would accent like a sandwich really well, but there's no crunch. They're really, really mushy. Mine was.
Yeah.
I couldn't sit here and just eat them like I can ours. And when did you make these?
2 days ago.
2 days?
So crunchy.
Hopefully you can hear the difference.
Yeah. But this is a quick pickled recipe, so, you know, the store-bought version is probably been sitting on the shelf for a bit.
Yeah.
But there is calcium chloride in these, so they should be a little bit crunchier.
Right.
But just love the
pickle crisp, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I still think our flavor is better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just grab a handful. No, don't put your fingers in there. Ew. So there you have it. We really do prefer our homemade version of pickled jalapenos. More flavorful, much crunchier. Let us know in the comments which ingredients you like to add to your pickled peppers and how you like to experiment with them in the kitchen. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time. So if you're not in love with them right away, which I'm sure you will be, try letting...